we'll start with Pierre-Luc Dubois, I guess. There's some rumblings that it's the LA Kings and the Winnipeg Jets, and they're potentially pretty far along in talks with this potential deal. Dubois to the Kings. Are we getting ahead of ourselves saying it's getting close to the finish line? Yes.
Yeah. And look, some evidence this morning that the Montreal Canadiens have re-engaged on the Pierre-Luc Dubois front. So they're not out of it. I believe the other teams that have been in the mix for Pierre-Luc Dubois include the Ottawa Senators, the Detroit Red Wings, and the Columbus Blue Jackets. All of those, well, the Blue Jackets doesn't really make any sense to go back down that path. I think there's been some intrigue there of just the idea of that player and the fit. But
they want a good young centerman.
Yes. And, again, I don't see that happening. I think he's a guy that wants to call his shot and wants to play in the market that he wants to play in. It's obvious to everyone that it's Montreal. But the problem with that is that it's also obvious to Montreal, and they don't necessarily want to go and spend assets to go get a guy that they, hey, just sign a 1-year deal somewhere and you can come play for us in a year for free.
Yeah. So the way I had it written down was, is the extension the only thing getting in the way of Dubois becoming a King? And I guess the answer to that is no. It's maybe not quite that far down the line. Still a couple of teams engaged. From a Kings perspective, does it make sense for them to be going down this path? Like, is Dubois the piece they need? I sit there and go, if you're talking to Winnipeg, you should be talking about Hellebuck if you're the LA Kings. With Danault and Kopitar, like, is slotting Dubois into that rotation of centermen, is that really the move that's going to put them over the top, or is it splurging unnecessarily?
I don't think it's, well, first off, we don't know what the return is.
Yeah,
that's one part of it. I think when you consider the market for Dubois, even as a premier 25-year-old center that's a power forward that can, realistically give you 30 and 30 every year, given that you also need to pay him, I think the market for Dubois is a step down from what the Ottawa Senators paid to get Alex DeBrincat a year ago.